Hello, in this video we're going to talk about the if statement. It's fairly common for programs to be designed so that they perform some operations, but only under certain circumstances. For example, suppose you're designing a game program and you want the program to give the player extra points if the player has managed to survive the game for a certain amount of time. In other words, you want the game to determine how long the player has been playing. And if that amount of time is greater than some specified amount of time, something like 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever, if the player has been playing longer than that predetermined amount of time, then you're going to give them extra points. Another example might be a program that calculates sales commissions. If the salesperson has sold more than $50,000 worth of merchandise, then we give them a bonus. They get extra pay. So programs typically have to determine whether a condition exists, and if that condition exists, then they perform some operation. Well, we do this in programming with the if statement. Virtually all programming languages support the if statement in one form or another, and on the screen I have the general format of the if statement as it's written in Python. It starts with the word if, followed by an expression that can be evaluated as true or false. Now, an expression that can be true or false is called a Boolean expression. And following the Boolean expression is a colon. Beginning on the next line, we have an indented block of statements. Now, the way the if statement works is that it tests the Boolean expression, and if the expression is true, the block of statements that appears next is executed. But if the expression is false, the block of statements is skipped. Let's look at an example. In this if statement, the Boolean expression is sales greater than 50,000. So if this is true, if sales is greater than 50,000, the statements in this block will be executed. Bonus will be assigned the value 500, commission rate will be assigned 0.12, and this message, you met your sales quota, will be printed on the screen. But if the Boolean expression, sales greater than 50,000, is false, none of these statements will be executed. In a program, you typically have statements appearing before an if statement and statements appearing after an if statement, as we've indicated here. So when this program is executing, the statements execute one after the other. This statement will execute, this statement will execute, and so forth. And then when the program reaches the if statement, it will evaluate the Boolean expression, and if the Boolean expression is true, the statements in the block will execute, and then the program will resume executing with the statement that appears after the if statement. So this statement will execute, followed by this one, and so forth. But what if the Boolean expression is false? Okay, well, if that's the case, let's say the program is executing, this statement executes, this statement executes, this statement executes. The if statement executes, and it determines that the Boolean expression is false, so the block is skipped, and the program immediately jumps to this statement. It executes, then this statement executes, then this statement executes, and so forth. Okay, well, let's look at an example program that we can actually run and try the if statement. So this is a very simple program that prompts the user for 3 test scores. Then it calculates the average of those 3 test scores, and it assigns that value to the average variable. Then we have an if statement that determines whether the average is greater than 90. And if that's true, we print this message you're doing great. Otherwise, we just skip that. We don't print the message. And then regardless of what the average is, we print this message that displays the average. So we'll run this, and we'll enter some example test scores and see how this works. Okay, so let's try some values that will not give us an average greater than 90. Let's say that our test scores are 10, 20, and 30. I hope your test scores are higher than that, by the way. So in this case, it simply tells us that the average is 20. So looking at the code, you can see here that average was equal to 20, so the Boolean expression, average greater than 90, is false. So the program simply skipped the print statement, and it went on to this statement. Now, if we run this program again, and this time we're going to enter some test scores that will give us a high average. Let's say 90, 95, and 100. You'll notice that we get the message, you're doing great, your average is 95. So this time, when the program executed the if statement, average was assigned the value 95. So this Boolean expression is true, and we execute the statement printing the message, you're doing great, and then the program resumed at this statement.